Hello and welcome to High Tales of History, a history podcast where two sisters get high and surprise each other with a story from history. I'm Laurel, the older sister.
Katie, the younger sister.
Here we are, episode 93. It's season 4, episode 6, episode 93. Welcome.
I stopped writing it down. I should probably do that.
I was just floating on a breeze with that one. I was really hoping I was getting that right. I just remembered episode 93, but I couldn't remember what our actual season and episode. It's fine. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. How are you doing, Katie? It's good to see you again.
Good. Hanging in there again. You say that like it's a bad thing.
I know. No, it's not that it's a bad thing. We've just had a lot going on. The last time we saw everybody, it was election day, and I had no idea what was going on with the election at the time that I was recording, and then I saw what was going on.
Yeah, we were well before that happened, weren't we?
Yeah.
A couple days or so. Oh, no. Yeah, you're right.
I'm just giving everybody some hugs.
Other than my chronic back pain, I'm great. The timing is what really pisses me off. So a week from today, but it'll be 2 days from when this episode airs, we've got the Kim Dracula concert. It's really an In This Moment show, but we all know that Blake and I are there for Kim Dracula. So I'm sorry. She puts on a great show. She's like a metal Lady Gaga. It's really great. But her show is her own, and it has a really cool message. You would like it. You might not like that it's metal, but you would like the rest of it. Very theatrical. I'm there for Kim, though. But it's going to be a good time.
That makes sense.
I mean, I won't see shit because I'll be blindfolded, but that's fine.
Do you have googly eyes on it yet?
Not yet. I have to wait for Blake to bring them back.
Okay.
To glue them on there.
Okay, yeah, because we all want to see the googly eyes.
I'm gonna get
on
fucking
the mask.
front row and be like, "Hey!"
I'm just like,
they'll be like, "What the actual? What?
What's happening?" I'm glad you're gonna go do that. That sounds like fun. What are you imbibing in tonight, Katie?
I have a half of a snozberry.
It's a snoozeberry. You can't keep saying snozberry.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. There's so many Z's. I just kind of click out of it. And let's keep in mind, I'm not necessarily sober, so I'm like, yeah, dude, it's a snozberry.
I'm having snozberry tonight. It tastes like snozberry.
Apparently it's snoozeberries.
It's snoozeberry. But no, I like that. It just makes me laugh because anytime I see it at the dispensary, it's got a little moon on it. It's blue. It's a blue wrapper.
That's what that is. It's purple.
Yeah, girl, that's purple. Okay. Anyway, and it's like snooze, like all the Z's.
There's so many Z's.
I just love that you call it a snozberry. It just makes me smile every time I see that.
Thank
also,
you.
the strawberry.
Strawberry, yeah.
So you have a half a snoozeberry.
Yes. And water.
And water, that's good.
I know.
That's so good. Such a good thing to do.
We're very boring over at this household. But over on Laurel's, in her neck of the woods, I was going to say on her neck of the woods. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
On it, in it, around it. Here we are. The woods. So in my neck of the woods, let's see, I smoked just part of a joint, and then I've got my pen, and I've got a glass of wine, and then I have water. I have a lot going on, but I'm here to history is what that says.
You better believe it.
Party.
I've got a party for you today, let me tell you what.
Yeah, me too.
I've got a sick-ass adventure, so... Oh, you do too?
You got a sick-ass adventure? I got a sick-ass heist.
Oh, yeah, yours is more adventurous. Mine's more Mine's an epic tale of battle and victory, so...
Yeah.
Which is still great.
Let's give the people what they want.
Let's give it to them.
Okay, smoke with the gun,
I was about to say bend over, but that's so rude. I love you guys. Please don't. I got excited, okay?
Let's get excited. Puts on rubber gloves.
Has to be latex free, darling. I'm allergic.
Latex free. Like a Blink 182 cover. There we are. That's a reference for all the millennials out there.
I just listened to that whole album yesterday. All of the greats.
all of them, and all of the history. So what do you say we bottle leaf grinder? You ready? Here we are.
Hold on. Let me mentally give me 1 second. Okay, I'm ready. I was like, okay. I was having like rising anxiety, and I was like, no. I was like, I need a second. And I was like, okay, I'm ready.
I thought this sort of like immersion therapy would have helped you out with your anxiety around rock paper scissors, but it doesn't. In fact, it probably just makes it worse every single time. And being the big sister that I am, I'm like, do it anyway.
It's
I
possible.
don't
I tried to get
care.
over my fear of heights by getting on roller coasters, and now I'm
Yeah.
just, I like roller coasters and I'm still terrified of heights, so it only half worked.
Well, it's okay.
I tried.
But I mean, you did it, right?
I did.
Good for you.
I don't think immersion therapy works for me. I just choose to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think it's probably more traumatizing. I'm just being an asshole. There we are. Bottle, leaf, grinder, shoot. All right, so Katie's leaf to my bottle. She's going to go first. So, Katie, you said you have a bit of adventure history for us today. You're going to take
I
us
don't know
on a
about
grand
adventure, more like battle and victory. War and victory, maybe?
Battle and victory, war and victory. Okay.
Yes. Legendary history. Ooh, yes. Legendary
okay.
history. It
Legendary
most definitely
history.
is. It's kind of what I did last week, but this is different.
Different
and you'll see
legendary
why.
history. Okay. Lay it on me, sis.
Oh, I will. So come gather around the campfire, dear friend. You can tell I'm high when I'm writing these two. Come gather around the campfire, dear friends. Fresh wood is piled on, and by the flickering light, we can all be cozy whilst I tell you a tale.
Oh,
You
here I
laughing
am.
at me?
Midnight Society, stand on the fire. There we go. That's another millennial reference for those of you out there who used to like to watch Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh,
on
it's on Netflix, I
I think so, yeah.
I'm going to have to try it out because Blake said it's a really good one.
A tale. It's a tale for you all.
It is. Our tale, speaking of which, brings us to the high seas.
High seas.
Oh, fuck me. I didn't
Indeed.
sorry. It is cold as the sea spray whips past our faces and the smell of sea salt fills the air. I hope you're getting into it. The date
I'm feeling it.
Are you? Excellent.
I can feel the mist. I feel the gales and sea breezes
It's
on my
cold,
skin.
though. Remember, it's not... Yeah.
Cold gales and cold sea breezes.
I specifically Googled at this time of year, what is this particular sea like?
I'm probably sick, but like I feel it on my skin, you know.
The currents are rough here. I did find that out. So yeah, you're probably not feeling too good.
Probably not feeling great.
So we'll watch from land.
Okay.
But for everybody who doesn't get seasick, join me on board. The year is 1597, October 26th. The battered, dejected navy of the Joseon Kingdom sit in the last 13 ships left to them that were mainly repurposed vessels hardly suited for war, facing down a Japanese fleet as many as 330 ships in the Yellow Sea.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but this sounds rad as hell.
Yo, you're prepared to have your fucking mind blown. Okay. We are visiting the battle. Oh, give me a break here because I can do this sober, but high is going to be a little different. So the Battle of Myeonyang, yeah. In the Yellow Sea off the southwestern corner of the Korean Peninsula. If you haven't heard of this guy, you fucking need to because, sorry, I got way too passionate about that.
But, we're about to.
Yo, let's do it. So our story begins with Yi Sun-shin, who was born in, I misspelled Seoul, South Korea. It's Seoul, Korea, what is now South Korea, before they put up their own little Mason-Dixon line. So probably only boomers will understand that reference. So that's why
History
I said
lovers. History lovers unite.
This is true. This is true. You are in good company here.
Mason-Dixon line.
So Yi Sun-shin, so he passed government exams to become a military officer in 1576, and he actually served in various army and navy posts. So he was just kind of sent all over the place. Although he was twice discharged after being falsely accused by jealous colleagues, in the politics. Whoa. In 1591, he was appointed commander of the naval forces that were left in Chola province, I believe is how. I had a couple of YouTube videos that I used for a lot of the information here. So in this province, he concentrated on training his men and stocking up equipment and supplies and developing the renowned Kabukusan, the turtle ship.
Okay, yeah. I just looked up a picture of that.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. I've seen one of those before. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. They're in Age of the Empires. As is this campaign,
yes, they are.
which I have never successfully finished. So
Oh,
I did not
okay.
actually pick it from that, though. I had come back around to it, and I was like, oh my god, I know who this is.
Mm-hmm.
I got destroyed. Anyway, so this would not be the last time Yi Sun-shin would deal with politics in his career. It proved to be the most difficult and challenging part of his military career. The Kobukasun is thought to have been the first ironclad battleship in history. Its upper deck was covered with armored plates to protect its crew and spikes.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll put a picture up here.
fuck
Everyone
yeah.
to see.
So the upper deck is covered in those armor plates with the spikes and knives that are attached to discourage enemies from boarding the ship. Good idea. The ship's bow is equipped with a dragon head through which a cannon could be fired because why the fuck not? Be extra.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the clouds of smoke emitted could be used to obscure the ship's position. Smart. He was a very clever man. It is
These
so
are cool
important
as
that
hell.
you understand that this is probably one of the smartest military leaders who ever lived. Just putting it out there.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is this the creator? Is like he a military leader, but also a creator of this boat, or is the
Ooh.
boats?
I will double check that for you.
Okay, so based on what I was just seeing there, real quick, and a very cursory bit of research, he didn't create it, but he improved on its design.
Well, by a
added
lot,
to it.
because the
Okay.
other, I think I know what other ship they're talking about, because that'll come up later. You remember the wooden longboats that during the Viking Age that were used?
Mhm.
That's kind of what they had before he vamped it to this. So, in my opinion, he really
Oh.
designed this fucking thing.
It seems like he made it the turtle ship then,
Yes,
where it's
he did
more
make it the turtle
enclosed.
ship. They had it before, but it was all wood. It didn't have any armoring on it. It didn't have any of that. And he was like, "Hey, like, why would we not?" And I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, why would you not? But yeah.
Yeah.
So
I-
thank you for looking that up. But
Yeah.
as you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure he was one of the OG designers. And I
Okay.
probably should have put that in here. But again, sometimes I do these things not sober. So some
Glad we
things
got
get
that
missed.
sorted out.
Thank you. So the clouds of smoke could be used to obscure the ship's position, and it just looks rad because the dragon's breathing smoke. Duh. And the cannon guns could also be fired from the stern and sides of the ship. So this thing was armed all around, basically. You just couldn't shoot from the back, basically. That's the only spot that was like unarmed. But
This thing is so cool. I love it.
it is really cool. As a result of Yi's preparations, his forces, unlike most of the Korean military, so he's in this lone little province. He's getting shit done. He was I don't want to say he was a harsh commander because I think that's unfair because they were under imminent threat. But he was a very serious commander. There was no time for fucking around. Like, he had people. It showed pictures of people being like, you'd be laid down and tied, and they'd pull your pants off your ass, and they'd beat your bare ass till you were bruised as punishment. I was like, woo, humiliation and force.
You
Yeah.
get your ass beat with your own pants?
No, like whatever they were holding, they would beat you with it.
Oh.
He just looked like he was holding like a flail of some kind, but it didn't feel good. Like, if you were not good, like, it kind of looked a little BDSM, but like I knew that it wasn't.
Yeah. No. I mean, okay, I'm following. Yeah. Yeah, it totally sucks. You don't want to be hit you're right. Like,
Yeah.
no one wants to be hit. But I thought what you were saying was they would tie you down, pull your pants off
and beat you with them? No, it's not harsh enough.
Pants all the way off,
No.
like kind of like roll them and then just
No, they'd
whack
like
you
just
with
pull
them.
your
I was like,
pants down
"Oh
to
my
your
God."
knees and like give you a good flogging
Oh.
across the back of your thighs and your butt cheeks. So you're
Ouch.
fine, but it fucking hurts.
Man, you can't sit down.
No, you can't. Well, you should be up and working. This is
Well,
Korea,
I know, but
damn it.
But at a certain point, you have to sit
Samsung was
down.
invented here. Excellent product. Fucking love Samsung. Sorry, carry on.
So, okay. Well, I'm glad we got that sorted out in terms of what the flogging process would be. So
This
your
is the
own
danger.
pants? They
This is
take
the
off your
danger
own
of two
pants and hit
stoners
you with
doing
them?
a history podcast.
This is humiliating and terrible. And
It
no,
is.
it's probably worse the way they actually did it. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, sure. But I don't like I said, like, he was a very strict commander, but I don't feel like he was necessarily unkind because they were like under like imminent threat. Like, it was
Right.
not going to go well for them.
Sure.
So, unlike the rest of the Korean military, his group was ready to fight when Japan invaded in 1592. Yi's victories off the southern coast effectively cut off the Japanese troops in Korea from supplies and reinforcements and prevented them from pressing their initial advantage, which is a big fucking deal because they probably would have lost right away. I'm going to touch on it later, so I don't want to repeat myself, but just to give everyone kind of a feel of where we are now, China's not like a superpower at this time. They are having trouble from the Japanese. And Korea was a vassal state of China previous to this.
Right.
So
Okay.
allies, but also trying to stand on their own with their independence, but also Japan was a very warlike state, especially in feudal ages. They were scary. They were very scary because they were very
Yeah.
mighty on the battlefield. And I think Korea was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. These people all just eking out their living on their peninsula. Again, stuck between two much bigger countries. So I think it's just important to remember like how precarious their position was. Because it's
Sure.
kind of like everyone wants to get to China, resources, power, and Korea's in the way. So if you need to put up a map of Korea so you can see that Japan is like right
Yep.
they're
Korean
right
Peninsula.
next. Yeah, they're right
There
there.
you go.
And then right across that in that little yellow sea goes right to China. There's not a lot of room here. So he had his shit together because he's a wise man. And everybody else is like, it'll be fine. That was a mistake. So during the last decade of the 16th century, Japan, under the leadership of General Toyotomi Hideyoshi, I think most people know this person, launched 2 unsuccessful military invasions against the Korean peninsula. I'm pretty sure I touched on Hideyoshi in my real life story of the Kenshin character because this is right before that, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, but I think so.
I'll link that in the show notes so people can catch up on that one. Yeah. But yeah, you have talked about Hideyoshi before.
I thought so. So the overall goal of these 2 invasions was to gain a foothold on the mainland and then use Korea, like I said, as a stepping stone to invade and conquer China.
Aw.
Hideyoshi spent most of the previous decade involved in constant campaigns to unify Japan. So if you remember those, the whole Civil War time, this is the guy. He finally achieved his unification in 1591 with the subjugation of the northern Honshu province. With that task complete, he began to set his sights on other lands to conquer, because why stop at my own island?
Right. We've done one thing, let's do the next.
Right? While struggling for unification in 1585, he had already began looking beyond his unification of Japan to make plans to invade China. So he was already like, I'm going to win this. I've got this. I admire the confidence, but if only the will behind it was kinder. In 1577, as an officer of the General Oda Nobunaga, Hideyoshi had dreamt of the conquest of China for the glory of Japan. After gaining firm control over Japan, Hideyoshi sent envoys to Korea to reestablish relations with them. Now, the relationship is strained, like what I was talking about, because there was constant pirate attacks from Japan. So Korea's had to really guard their little coastline they're not necessarily sent by the government of Japan, but Japanese pirates would come over and just harass them constantly. And as I had mentioned earlier, Korea was previously a vassal state of China. And Hideyoshi proposed straight up to the king at that point. He said, you let me come through Korea and assist me with invading China, and I won't squish you like a bug. And he was immediately refused. So at least King Sanjo had a backbone of some sort. So he said,
King Sanjo,
pack your bags and leave. I'm not doing that to China. Like, we're buddies, and you're kind of a dickhead. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, as is probably for good reasons, and I definitely would have done the same, King Sanjo was concerned about Hideyoshi's plans, and he fucking should be. So he sent envoys to Japan to attempt to discover what his true intentions were.
I don't mean to be a dickhead, but it would be envoy.
Huh? What did I say?
and an envoy.
Ah, dude, this is going to be a rough one. The edibles
It's
hit
like,
so hard. The envoy, as it were.
thank you. I'm stepping out now.
No, I appreciate it, man. I would prefer to be corrected than continue in ignorance. Again, bubbly, but my eyes are too close together, so intelligence. That's my 1-star
1
review.
star.
I'm gonna give myself 1 star. Bubbly, but your eyes are too close together. Looks uncomfortably into the camera. Prolonged eye contact.
Oh, bubbly, but her eyes are too close together. 1 star.
Yeah.
Does great at retelling history though. Just might mispronounce the word envoy. 2 stars.
It's not any of the really difficult words from a language that I don't speak, but yeah, I'm gonna fuck up that English one.
There you go. No, it's good. It's good.
What is it? Envoy?
Envoy, yeah.
Envoy, got it. I'm just gonna put an O there.
O-N.
I'm gonna have to phonetically do this for myself.
Envoy.
I actually don't think I've known that in all my 30 years.
It's okay. There's some words that like you might have heard them a bunch of times, but you never really have to say them.
Yeah.
I have that sometimes.
You look
too,
at it
where
and you're
I'm
like, oh no.
I'm like, oh, I realized I don't know if I've ever like really said that word out loud before.
I'm about to fuck it up in
Yeah,
a
here it
good way.
There you go. No, you know what? This is a learning and educational podcast.
This is a safe space.
It's a safe space. We're all learning here. We're all learning. We're all growing, and this is for everyone. And my dog is barking too much.
So King Sanjo is concerned about his plans. He sends envoys to discover their true intentions. These envoys returned with contradictory reports. King Sanjo chose to listen to the envoy, who advised that Japan would not attack Korea. Using this information, no military preparations were made to defend the Korean peninsula.
Uh-oh, I get the feeling that's wrong.
Mistake.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, General Hideyoshi, being as prolific, maybe is the word, as he is, mobilized an army of 225,000 men for an invasion of Korea in the spring of 1592. At the core of this army was a large number of samurai, which consisted of elite horsemen and foot soldiers, battle-hardened from years of civil war, which is the infinitely more terrifying part.
Battle-hardened samurai and soldiers, veterans of a civil war. Like we've done.
They got
this
their scary
before.
masks on and everything. Whew. Samurai were scary.
Love the samurai though. I get it. I get why people are like,
they're rad as fuck.
By that.
They're cool. Yeah. They're cool,
Mm-hmm.
especially like remember when oh gosh, which one is it? It's in one of my episodes where we discuss one of the samurai and how it was important that they learned calligraphy and the garden placing. Remember, you have to lay a garden correctly and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just
Don't
like during the Viking
tell you
Age.
You're not a man if you know how to do garden stuff.
Yeah.
Come
well,
on,
you want to talk about quote unquote men during the Viking Age? If you were a bloodthirsty warrior but weren't a poet, you were considered a dunce.
We need this warrior poet sort of class of come on, make it happen there.
Gym bros, you're not cool if you don't do poetry. So you heard it here first.
Get the poetry
going. Don't you dare tell me the Vikings weren't the men of men, because oh my god.
Right.
The army, which also consisted of a lot of battle-hardened, bloodthirsty samurai. Scary. The army was well-trained and armed with cannons, muskets, and long swords, and was led by very capable commanders. I don't doubt it. These commanders were the daimyo, the local leaders of the provinces, so like the lords of their land, who swore allegiance to Hideyoshi. Due to the Japanese intrigue taking advantage of the fractious politics of the Joseon dynasty court, Admiral... It's my boy, man. Just so you know, I very passionately stand by this man, because life kind of does him dirty sometimes, and it's bullshit. So, Admiral Yi Sushin had previously been impeached and almost put to death. As I mentioned earlier,
Oh, shit, girl.
He was instead tortured and demoted to the rank of a common soldier.
Oh, no, what happened?
Oh, yeah, because he was doing too good, and his jealous rivals didn't like it, so they spread rumors about him and said all these things that weren't true.
Get out of town.
I
Get
shit
off
you
this
not.
peninsula. Get off this
Immediately.
peninsula, you guys. Immediately. Rude.
Oh, they will. Don't worry.
Can't have anybody do a good job and be helping us all out.
No, because
No,
keep in
punish
mind
them.
that's what. Yeah, I know. But keep in mind that's why I kind of painted that picture for you, that it's a new um country. So there's a
Country,
lot
yeah.
of warring politics going on here. So everybody's
Mhm.
vying for power.
Yeah.
I know it's stupid.
Shit.
Yi
Alright.
knows what's up. Don't worry. So
Okay.
Yi's rival, Admiral Wang Guin, took command of the Joseon fleet, which under Yi's careful management had grown from 63 heavy warships to 166. Oh, it's not Wang Guin, it's Wang Guan. Excuse me. Wang Guan was an incompetent naval commander.
Mm.
He immediately squandered the Joseon's navy strength through ill-conceived maneuvers against the Japanese naval base at Busan. So, back to this dumbass, not only being just basically a dickhead, he's squandering naval. What?
It's very frustrating. It
Yeah.
really is frustrating to hear like how well someone was doing, and then they were just taking down several, like many pegs
Dude,
just to like prove
Yisushin
a
was
point for no reason, and
it was
then
like beat and tortured and like
yeah, it's
demoted to
awful.
common soldier.
The
Dude,
fuck?
first of all, it's kind of like Rudolph. Like, I wouldn't fucking help you if you were nice to me after that. Like, sorry, terrible, but you know what I mean? Like that whole you're bullied, you're bullied, you're bullied. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, but we need your help.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you bullied the schnoz before. No, no,
exactly.
thank you.
Well, but it's also like one of those things. It's like, these are bigger men than I am, emotionally, maturity wise. Because I don't know that I'd have been that nice. But, you know, when the greater good is on the line, I
Yeah.
understand things have to happen. I still wouldn't have
However.
helped at Christmas, though, but whatever.
Fuck you, Santa.
Right? So back to Dickhead Guan here. In the Battle of Chilcheongyang, it's another Navy spot. It's like closer to Japan. It's closer to Japan on the side of the peninsula. The Japanese Navy, with Todo Takatora in overall command, outmaneuvered the Chosun Navy and virtually wiped the fucker out completely. Yes. Soon afterwards, the Japanese reinforced their garrisons in Busan and the various forts in the southern coast of Korea and began a second invasion. So they've got like their little claws in now, right?
Oh no.
I know. Shit gets rough around here, man. Here it comes. Ready? Here's the Rudolph moment. When the Chosun Navy was taken off the scene, the Japanese believed they now had free access to the Yellow Sea and could supply their troops through this sea as the route as they advanced northward, because their goal is China. 5 years earlier, in the 1592 campaigns, Admiral Yi prevented the Japanese from resupplying their troops in this manner. Remember how he was ready and nobody else was? And he kept their ships holed up in the main bases at the Busan harbor. They never advanced past that. He stopped them dead in their tracks and turned them away like, try that shit again.
Mm-hmm. Nice work.
I know. The Japanese laid siege to the city of Namwan and successfully captured it on September 26th and fought the Ming Chinese army into a stalemate. The Japanese army was then awaiting supplies and reinforcements from their navy, who would need to enter the Yellow Sea to reach the west coast of Korea. So that's kind of where they're at. So they're making their way around, basically.
I'm gonna try and put up as many maps as I can of this. So
yeah, I mean, as long as they're basically just making their way around the Korean coastline.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, the army, supported by the Navy, planned to make a major push to recapture Hanyang at the time, which is modern Seoul. Admiral Yi Sun-shin was hastily reinstated. Here's where I feel like extremely strongly about this bullshit. Was hastily reinstated as the supreme commander of the regional navies after Huan Guan was killed at the Battle of Chilcheongyang. Yi only had 12 Pankosian ships left to his name. So these ships were the ones I was talking. They're like wood, basically. They're not the reinforced battleship of those turtle ships, right?
Okay, they're the precursor to the turtle ship,
pretty
essentially.
Much. They're more like people movers than anything.
Oh no! 12 of those bad boys.
He had 12. A 1 and a 2, a 12. I'm not mistaking that number, and I'm not high. Well, I am, but that number is real. My sobriety does not change that number's realness. So
hey guys, you messed up. You messed up. You put the wrong guy in charge.
Oh, he died.
And now you have a huge problem.
He died in the attack, which he fucking deserved.
You put the wrong guy in charge.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, but it's what you fuck around and find out.
That was the fuck around and find out moment. Yeah. And of course, we can look with hindsight 2020 and be like, hey, maybe
you should have listened to Yi Sun-shin.
Maybe you should have listened to the guy who was doing a great job in the first place. But I digress. And also, I smoke.
Laura's feeling very, very strongly about this. So Yi acquired one other warship, likely one of the two that Bai Sol had previously lost. This was another commander in the Navy, so he had one left. Thus, in total, Yi had 13 warships. Initially, he only found 120 men, some of whom were the survivors of I need my phonetic spelling. Chil Chon-yong, and they rallied to him. At the end of this, we're going to go into a battle. This is about a battle. Okay. As I said before, in a specific spot. We're not doing the whole Imjin War. Imjin, I believe. And by the end of this, as it's happening, people are rallying to him. They're rallying. So at the end, he had about 1,500 sailors and Marines. Oh, wow. Yeah. It's so fucking cool. Just wait, dude. So he's going into this with 120 men. Some of them were already beat up after the last They're survivors. They're survivors. Okay. Yeah. So who knows what's going on there in terms of their availabilities and 13 ships. Plus one. So we have 13 now. Oh, tell me how he finds a way, Katie. I want you, Laurel. I know you'll have a visual up for the listeners. Well, excuse me, for the listeners. So for those of you who don't have visuals, let's go there. If you look up Korea, if you look up that pass or that strait in Korea, it'll show you where it's at, just to give you an idea. Also, I'll put it in the show notes too, so that way you have a link too. Thank you. You're so helpful. What do I do without you? I do what I can. I don't know if anyone actually goes to any of the links, but I like to have them there because I think that's the right thing to do, is for you guys to be able to. You should have a resource. Yeah, find resources and then understand visually what's happening. I Google anytime you're telling a story and I need the geography, I'm Googling on my phone so that I can follow along with you. It's nice to have a visual aid. So we have 13 ships and 120 dudes. It's not a lot of ships or a lot of dudes. It's not a lot of dudes to go on, not a lot of ships, and it's and the Japanese had somewhere around 330. Yeah. A solid fleet, if you would. Yes, they had a fleet. I believe only 130 engaged in this battle, though, which is still way more than 13. So it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. It's still insane. We're talking outnumbered? Yes. A whole and hearty yes. By a long shot. Mm-hmm. This is why I lose this campaign in because you're so fucking outnumbered. Yeah, and I sit there, I'm like, I don't know how this guy did this. Well, I'm going to tell you how he did it. That's why we're here. Tell us how he did it. At the time, King Sanjo, who judged the Joseon Navy, excuse me, I can't pronounce the English words. The Joseon Navy had lost its power and would never be restored again, so he's losing all hope. He sent a letter to disband the Navy and have its men join the forces under General Kwan Yul. Admiral Yi responded with his own letter, listen to my man here, dude, stating, Your Majesty, this vassal still has 12 battleships. Even though our navy is small, as long as I live, the enemy will not dare to look down on us. Oh. My dude. Oh. Warrior poet there, folks. That's what we're talking about. The words, the warrior, he's gonna make this shit happen with 12 battleships or 12 little ships. And honestly, when you're speaking about that, right, it makes sense because you would need a leader with eloquence, because if you don't inspire men, they will not follow you. Mm-hmm. Braveheart. So, fucking yay, man, yeah. Fucking oath. That's the truth. Love it. So. Okay, got it. All right, blue face paint. So by this time, through the reports of their scouting forces, the Japanese were aware of the presence of a Joseon naval remnants. They intended to resist their advance, so they know they're there, basically. It's not a surprise, so no element of surprise. Well-armed scouting forces alone were not going to defeat or scatter the Joseon remnants, because they did put a couple of, like, they'll send, like, 3 or 4 ships or whatever. Turned away, dude. This dude is so rad. Like, if none of you have heard of him, I'm glad we're correcting that mistake today, because I had heard of him, but didn't know the real story. I'd played him in Age of the Empires, and I was like, that's rad. And had always thought I should go look up that person's story sometime, and never did it. And then it came back around just looking for my next story, and I was like, oh. And then as I was getting through it, I was like, oh my God, it's the same guy. I know who this is. So it's really exciting.
No, that's cool. I mean, just because I haven't heard of it doesn't mean that, like, everybody's going, yes, at their
that's true.
at their device right now and knows exactly what it is. I think it's amazing. It's amazing.
It gets even more amazing.
Okay.
So Japan had a much larger fleet. We know that. Admiral Yi's diary mentions reports of around 55 Japanese ships amassing near Arenpo on October 17th, with Japanese naval activity increasing. Admiral Yi did not want to fight a major battle with his back to the my phonetic's not here, so give me Myeongnyang Strait. So on October 25th, he decided to withdraw further north and hide his ships in the shadow of the hills on the opposite, so the northern side, if you're looking at the map, of the Myeongnyang Strait. Admiral Yi studied numerous sites for his last stand with the Japanese Navy and decided on luring them into the Myeongnyang Strait. And the Japanese, because you kind of come up, sorry. That's why I'm doing this weird thing on screen. I'm trying to describe it to you, man. I'm really into the story. I can't help it. So he's luring them in because they're on the north side. So he wants them to come through. Because what he's doing is it comes through, it kind of tapers in. So there's a really thin spot here. So if you think like Sparta, you know what I mean? That's what he's trying to do here.
Okay, so we're about to do a 300 basically with these ships.
I think so. And well, hold on, let me make sure that Sparta did happen how I think it happened. They just like held off a small spot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they basically got funneled between two cliff falls.
That's it.
Or so bridges. Hey, speaking of Braveheart, you could do that with Stirling Bridge. That's what happened there, except there's no bridge in Braveheart, which is the whole no moment there. The whole thing they get wrong.
Is spelled A-U-C-H, by the way.
A-U-C-H.
Do you want to talk about finding someone from that country to educate you? Well, I was educated. It's not A-C-H. That's an automatic clearinghouse in a bank.
But funneling, funneling is a good military tactic to have. Okay. Very Excellent. Cool. I'm here for all of this. I'm ready, and I will shut up.
Absolutely. Okay, so the Japanese are clearly going to enter the strait. So they're going to enter, just logically, he's reasoning, when the tide is favorable. So he doesn't want to fight south of the strait with the current at the attacker's advantage. Instead, he wants to fight in the waters just north of it. So it's going to funnel either way, right? You could sit in the strait and fight there, but he chose the north side because of this reason. Instead, he wanted to fight in the waters just north of the strait where the currents are calmer. The strait had very strong currents that flowed at approximately 10 knots for all you boat people. First in one direction, then in the opposite in 3-hour intervals.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, hang in there.
Challenge. Okay.
I know.
Wow.
He's so smart. He's so fucking clever. Yi realized that he could use the unique condition as a force multiplier. Plus, once the tide changed, the flow of the current would effectively push the Japanese army away from the fleet. So it's going to naturally pull them out. So he's using nature to his advantage. So, like, he's so strategic. He's so fucking smart. I would hate to play Risk against this guy. He'd probably wreck you. I've never played Risk. I don't even know how it's played. But everyone just says, oh, it's a strategy game. So I'm assuming that strategy's involved. I'd say that's a fair bet.
Me too. Yeah, I've never played it. He would
wreck you in Risk. He'd probably kill you in Monopoly. Let's just assume that he would probably
a really good chess player or checkers or something like that, you know, where you're using
kick your ass. I know. So the current is going to push them away from Yi's fleet, and the momentum, he could harness that momentum to jump on the current and speed an attack towards them. So he's using this like threefold. You see what he's got like stages to his little plan. I
I
thought
think
this
it
was
with a
brilliant.
spoon.
Maybe
This is
not
really
everyone's
smart.
as
Yeah,
excited as
no.
I was. I was like,
Oh,
this
I'm
dude's so
excited.
smart. So early in the morning of October 26th, the huge Japanese fleet was spotted by Yi scouts as they had deployed on the small bay on the southern end of the Mianyang Strait. Admiral Yi's fleet then redeployed out of their base in Joseon to block the northern end of the strait. And in one of the videos, they said that they lined fishing boats up there, but I think they were referring to his fleet that he kind of like manufactured into turtle boats. Like he used what he could to make them tough.
Oh, right on. Okay.
And he just kind of lined them all up. Yi described his scouts reporting countless, because he's keeping a diary this whole time. So a lot of this is like firsthand. So he reported that countless enemy ships in the morning prior to battle, with 133 attacking. So in the Japanese records, the ships at the front of their formations were middle-class warships called the Sikibuna, which were larger than the Atakebuna, because they couldn't fit in the shallow straits. So he was clever. The big warships couldn't get through because the water was too shallow. They would basically beach themselves. Yi's warships deployed on the northern end of the strait and dropped anchor. Yi and his flagship advanced upon the vanguard of the Japanese fleet. Everybody it's starting, man. It's happening. For a time, only the flagship fought in the battle. The crews of the Joseon fleet were made up of survivors of the Chilcheonyang battle, like I told you, and they were still badly shaken and intimidated by the overwhelming size of the Japanese fleet. Yi said in his diary, "My flagship alone faced the enemy formation. Only my ship fired cannons and arrows. None of the other ships advanced, so I could not assure the outcome. All the other officers were seeking to run, as they knew this battle was against a massive force."
Wow. It's just him
Right now.
at the moment. So he's out in
Yeah.
front, just him against the
Just-
Japanese fleet.
Yeah. Firing away.
I've fallen in love again. All right, cool. Right.
telling
It
ya.
just keeps hitting me. Just Cupid's arrows just keep pinging me in all
I
the
get it.
places of my body.
I
Okay.
can't remember what he looks like. I did see so, but we're going to assume he was handsome because no one this smart and brave could not be handsome. So a couple boats away, another one of the commanders, Kim Yok-chu, recorded from around 390 meters, was about how far his boat was away. So for a time, it looked like Yi's flagship was standing like a castle in the middle of the sea. I thought that was majestic, so I included it.
That is very majestic.
The flagship's ability to hold out against the Japanese vanguard eventually gave heart to the rest of Yi's fleet, and small groups of his ships came to his aid. Small groups. There's fucking 13 of them. They are a small group. Anyway, at first came a ship commanded by a local magistrate, Ennui, and several ships commanded by a central squadron leader, Kim Ung-ham. Seeing the success of the flagship and the handful of other boats, the rest of Yi's fleet joined the fight. So they're having locals just show up, like getting their ship, not like locals, but like army people just like find their shit and be like, we've got this.
Are they getting their own boats too?
Well,
Or no,
they're
is it
war
just-
boats. This is the
Okay.
thing, is like they are bringing, I mean, I don't know about war. They're
Start
probably
trying.
they're probably about as prepared as Yi's boats. Not great.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
not great.
So the tide soon shifted, and the Japanese ships began to drift backwards and collide with each other. In confusion, Admiral Yi ordered his ships to advance and press the attack, ramming 31 Japanese ships. The dense formation, I know, he's so cool. The
Fucking
dense
hell.
formation of the Japanese ships crowded in the narrow strait made for the perfect target for the Chosun cannon fire. The strong tides prevented those in the water from swimming to shore. Many Japanese sailors who abandoned sinking or damaged ships drowned right there in the currents. Yikes! Some Korean
no.
documents record the number of damaged Japanese warships, which also includes those not sunk but sustaining some. Oh, why did I include that? Oh, did I delete my number out of there? Don't do your notes when you're high, Katie. I thought the number that I was looking for in there, I thought they sunk 33 of them. I'm pretty sure is what they sunk right there. So
Of roughly 130.
133.
133. Okay.
Yes.
3. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. I don't know why I deleted that number, but luckily I remembered it. So, having dealt a heavy blow to the Japanese, according to Yi's diary at this point, the Japanese dared not approach his fleet. But though he wished to continue the battle, the tides were too strong. The wind blew against him, and he was still greatly outnumbered, so he decided to withdraw to Dangsa Island at nightfall. Even after the victory, the Joseon Navy was still outnumbered by the remaining Japanese Navy, obviously. So Admiral Yi withdrew to resupply his fleet and have more space for mobile defense. Upon hearing of the news of the heroic victory, many surviving ships and sailors who had been hiding after the defeat at the Chilchongyang joined the Admiral Yi's fleet. That's how it went from like 120 to like 1,500. So he did that battle with the 13 ships and 120 men.
I'm so impressed. What a thing.
Look at how clever he was, though. He picked his battle. He picked his field.
I'm so impressed. And that moment of courage and like thumbing their nose at the Japanese being like, no, we're going to fight you right here, right now. And where we're at, like that got inspired other people to come in and be like,
Yeah,
right, this is rad. We're going to come.
We heard that there's a rally. There's a defensive being launched. We will join you. And they came.
Don't cry.
Dude, you should cry.
It's so good. Okay.
The victory also enabled the Chinese Navy to join Admiral Yi in the early 1598. So that battle of the Mianyang Strait was in 1597, October 26th. The Japanese Navy... Oh, sorry. Cat scared the shit out of me. I thought there was like a demon in my house. Anyway, the Japanese Navy was heavily damaged. Well, at least 30 of the Japanese fighting ships were destroyed. The total number of damaged ships, to include those supporting that also sustained damage, they were not reported. So they were worse off than just 30 ships. 30 ships are what got sank. There's plenty that are not war-worthy after this. And good luck limping back to Japan. You know?
Yeah.
So, Kuroshima was killed. Todo Takatora was wounded, and the Japanese suffered extremely heavy casualties. Admiral Yi continued his undefeated battle record until he restored Korea's control of the seas. It's skirmishes for the rest of the war. But again, this was just about the battle. All right, Laurel. This is where I absolutely break your heart.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Sadly,
it's all right.
Yi was killed by a stray bullet as he pursued the retreating Japanese forces during the final campaign of the war. I know.
Okay, I'm seeing... What's the word, Katie? Cinematography?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
Is that the word that one would use? Okay, I'm seeing it. It's a slow motion shot, right?
Yeah.
He's like, doing one of those like, go, like get him or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the ting and he like gets like pinged back, right? Is that what's happening?
I guess so. It doesn't really it just says that he was...
And everyone's like, no. So when she hits the deck, goes down.
Could you imagine watching that happen, though?
Weeping.
I was going to say,
this man.
I mean, like I said in the beginning, he was a very strict commander. There's no room for fucking around.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
Yeah. but like, he wanted
red flags. for
but he wanted you to live, you know? He wanted to not be invaded. They were under imminent threat. Like, they would have just been crushed by the Japanese. And they would have just been steamrollered and become...
True, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, man. I think he was an important person to have around. All of Korea would be kind of, screwed without him. So throughout his 6-year naval command, Yi fought and won 23 battles, destroying over 780 Japanese ships without losing a single vessel of his own. An incredible military record, Jesus hell, by any account. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
That's my man, everybody.
I'm telling you. I know. That's why when you kept saying that, I was like, oh man, when he dies, she's going to be really upset.
She's going to be heartbroken in just a minute. No, but this is a very cool... I'm sorry. I'm being a jokester about it, but that is That's huge. What a
It's
record that
amazing.
is.
Like, why
Yeah.
is he not more spoken about? So, his
Okay.
actions during the first invasion prevented the Japanese from getting seaborne supply, forcing an impossible overland route, and causing the vanguard samurai armies to wither on the vine. This frustrated not only the attempt to pacify the Korean countryside, but left the invaders incapable of reaching China. It says his timely passing, I'm going to say untimely, neatly protected Yi Sun-shin's legendary status, one that he maintains to this day in memorials etched into statues around modern Korea, including the one at Gwanghwamun Plaza in Seoul, and there is another of him overlooking the Busan harbor, as it should be,
Oh,
keeping
I like
an
that.
eye on the Japanese man.
Mm.
No offense, Japan, but listen, this is Korea.
No
I'm not
offense,
on your
Japan.
side right now.
With this, you said this is not something that he's not like talked about as much, but I would imagine like in Eastern history classes,
I guess so. We need to talk more about it, though. I tell you
it's a
what,
very cool thing.
like Hattori Hanzo and all these people, like these guys were pretty rad, man. I'm just
Mhm.
saying. Yi's reputation for diligence and self-discipline and unwavering devotion to duty, despite his government's unjust persecution of him, which was bullshit,
Mhm.
have placed him above all others and Korean historical figures worthy of emulation. For Yi, perhaps the greatest honor of all would be the reverence he instilled in the descendants of his enemies. When Adam Togo was celebrated for his incredible victory over the Russians at Tsushima in 1905, an admirer compared him to the admirals Horatio Nelson and Yi Sun-shin. A naval hero himself and descendant of the Kyushu samurai, Togo responded, "It may be proper to compare me with Nelson, but not with Korea's Yi Sun-sin, for he has no equal."
Oh,
I was like,
oh, that's
yeah,
lovely.
I know. I was like, God damn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I imagine in Korea, like they
I
they
hope
know
so.
him. Well, yeah, they
Oh,
know him like Britain knows Horatio Nelson, that sort of thing. Yeah, right. Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Well, this is
Not
the first
surprising.
time I finally had an awesome story, and you're like, I've never heard of this. I was like, what? I was like, of all of the ones that you would guess, I thought it would be this one. But you know what?
No.
This is my victory. Me and Yi Sun-sin, Yu Sun-shin, because you didn't know it, and I got to surprise you. So there it
You
is.
are victorious.
I am.
That's and so was he. That's
Yes.
really amazing. What a great piece of history to learn. And that's the thing, like I don't know that much Eastern history or like Asian history. And I think it's so cool. And I always get excited about it because like I just that's not what
We don't hear it all
it's
the
not
time.
we learn really growing up for the
Yeah.
most part. So there's very little that I know about it unless I like, get taught. And I love that. That's why I love learning. Thank you, Katie.
Me too.
I appreciate
You're
that.
very
That was
welcome.
really cool. Really,
That
really
was a
cool.
really, like I said, I've always kind of had a very soft spot for him, you know?
Oh, I do now.
I'm
I
glad
do
you were
now.
also like
Yeah.
getting like really in love. I was like, okay, because
Smitten.
I thought this, because I just kept saying
Smitten.
it like as I'm writing my story out. I usually have music on, doing my story as I am, and I was just like, God, this guy is so smart. He's like a fucking genius. Like he's so awesome.
Love that. I love finding his like people in history or events in history that you're just like, wow, I did not know this. Oh, this is so cool. Or
Mhm.
oh, I love this so much. Or like how
Yeah.
smart or how
I was
courageous or whatever it might be. Like
I guess
I love those.
I got like immediately like tearful and like me like, yeah, Korea, and everyone's like, what are you doing over? What's your bubblegum ass doing over here? Be like, listen, just calm down. I love Korea.
Let me just cheer them on.
Yeah. You can't not love a good underdog story though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think those stories are I mean, movie stories, right? Like they make a great movie.
There is a movie out about this. It's
300. Or
no,
any
I meant
right?
about him, about Yi
No,
Sun-shin.
I'm saying like I was just giving examples of like
Yeah,
these
well,
sort of
you're right.
underdog
You're right.
stories.
They're
Yeah.
good ones. They're
A
great. Those
few
are the
against
ones.
many kind of thing.
But it's like, here we go. You
Come
ready?
on, bring it.
It's coming. It's
Right.
like Sam says in Lord of the Rings when he says, those are the stories we connect with the most because those folks had lots of chances to turn it back, only they didn't. They had something worth
Samwise.
fighting for.
Yeah, love an underdog story. Who doesn't? I mean,
And he's brilliant.
you know, I stand a brilliant tactician.
I have no idea what you're talking
Or,
about. You're actually
okay.
in lingo that is totally lost on me, so sorry.
You can hear I'm trying way too hard with my Gen Z slang here. I'm like Steve Buscemi with my skateboard
I
slung over my
think
shoulder.
if-
How do you do, fellow kids?
Yeah, I think if you're on this podcast, you've realized by this point, unless this is your first time here, then welcome. I'm glad I brought you
Hey.
this story because this was
There
a
you go.
beautiful one. If you like this one, check out Kudeyoon. That's Katie's history crush.
She is also rad as hell.
Yeah,
Katie Yoon.
you better believe
Mhm.
it. I'd have been the only one to steal her heart because I'm cute. And I can ride
But
horses.
you had to be able to wrestle her, man. You had to be able
I'll
to
wrestle her
and
down.
win her heart. Yeah.
Well, I might not
Wrestle her
have
and
to,
win
is
her
what
heart.
I was saying, actually. I'm so cute and so lovable, though my eyes are too
Oh.
close together.
Mhm.
1
star.
1-star review.
She body slams you. That's it.
Right? I think I would be so cute and adorable that I would just inspire her to be like, I'll have this one.
Yeah. You had heart eyes for sure for
Oh,
Katie
yeah.
Yoon of Mongolia.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
How
I
do
mean, I
you
get
not?
it. She's way cool. She's way cool. So I'll link that episode in the show notes because why not? Why shouldn't you not? Why don't you know
Katie's
about
history
her?
crush link.
Katie's history crush. There it is. Bing. Yi Sun Shin. Man, by Grabthar's hammer. What a underdog story that was. We all love an underdog story, don't we? So good. It's your big sister Laurel at the halfway point between the stories. We've loved having you in the smoke circle. We hope that you've been enjoying yourself as well. If you are, hey, make sure you don't miss out on another episode. So make sure you're following and subscribing or whatever it is on the platform you're listening on. If you're on YouTube, give us a like or drop a comment below and let us know how you're liking the episode so far. What's your favorite part? Maybe get in the conversation a little bit. And also, have you left a rating and a review yet? Have you put some stars down? Have you written a little line to say, hey, these gals are A-okay in my book and the show is amazing? Or whatever niceties you want to say about High Tales of History and your favorite Midwestern stoner sisters who like history. It's a very specific little niche, and we hope that we take that #1 spot in your hearts. And if we do, let the world know how much you're enjoying the show. Please rate and review. Those are some of the best things that can help our little show grow and get into the eyes and ears of more history lovers. And if you want to be hanging out with us in between episodes, we would love to be chatting with you over on Instagram at High Tales of History or on TikTok at High Tales of History Pod. Over there we have different historical videos that we call History One-Hitters, show news, just having fun in the history space with you. All of our social media accounts are tagged in our show notes below. And if you really want to be hanging out with us and be a best bud, be one of our best buds over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/High Tales of History. In the Best Buds Club, you can get exclusive patron-only content like our half-baked episodes, which are our little mini episodes, historical movies, historical cooking. So we get in the kitchen, when we get our munchies, we get in the kitchen and cook up a little something from history and chat about its historical impact. And the best thing about the Best Buds Club is that you can just sign up for free in case you want to just see what's going on over there. You can be a free member and see some of the new content that's being uploaded just for patrons and our best buds. And we would love to have you over there. So once again, that is patreon.com/High Tales of History. That's also linked in our show notes below. All right, so let's keep the adventure going. What do you say? I've got a heist for you. So, suit up, put on your little cat burglar mask, limber up so you can do some cartwheels and flips through some laser beams. And we're going to talk about the heist of art's most famous face. And with that, let's puff pass it on to part 2. I have a lot of people's art crush. How about that? Is that how I can segue this?
Sure.
So as I mentioned earlier, I've got a heist.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I love a heist. I want to be a historian of heists. Can I be a historian? Can I do that? Is that a thing that you can? Don't be embarrassed, Katie. It's fine. A historian
No,
is
I was
something
laughing.
that,
It was just,
yeah.
it was good. I was actually here for it. I'm rarely making fun of you.
They put me on the History Channel, and it's like Laurel Rockle, historian, heistery, yeah, heist historian. It's too much of a mouthful. Let's just mush that together and historian it. If that was a legitimate thing you could be, I would love it. I love a heist. So I got one for you today. Laurel's been leaning into the, I don't want to talk about myself in the third person, but I have definitely been leaning into the adventure history this season. So this is like right in the turtle boat of topics here. Okay. It is a terribly hot and humid August morning in Paris, and a man wearing the white smocks of the Louvre employee emerges from a closet. This is not a euphemism I've written down afterwards. It is a storage closet.
Oh, good. You're doing your, you're starting to be like me where you write your internal thoughts on there and then you're like, I should probably not put that on there. And then if you don't review your notes when you're sober, that's what happens.
This is not a euphemism. He was coming out of a literal storage closet. The museum was closed, and therefore was only really populated by a handful of security guards and maintenance workers. He walks through the Salon Carré, which displays an array of works from Renaissance art's biggest names: Raphael, Rembrandt, Da Vinci, to name a few.
My favorite Ninja Turtle.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite Ninja Turtle is Raphael, I think. Or, I mean, I suppose Michelangelo, but I mean...
Oh, I was going to say, I thought yours was Leo.
Maybe. I don't know.
I remember you saying Leo distinctly.
Leo. Okay. Well, then I'll take that. He is the leader.
Like how Katie's like...
Someone's got to lead something around here. So he stops in...
Older sister energy.
Older sister energy is what that is. Yes.
Not old, as in... but
older sister. No, I got what you're saying.
Okay. I was going to say, as in eldest, as in wisdom, not like old.
That's fine. I am the older sister. I know this about myself. This man in the white smock of the Louvre employee, he stops in front of a medium-sized oil painting. He plucks it off the wall, protective glass case and all, and he heads to a stairwell that exits to the courtyard. There he stripped the painting of its case and frame, wrapped it in a sheet, hid it under his large smock, and went to make his leave out of the stairwell. But alas, the door was locked.
Why is that alas? He's trying to steal a priceless art.
I know. Well, alas for him. I mean, yeah. Oh. He's like, oh no, oh no.
I was going to say, I am not on this guy's side right now.
Me neither. No. But alas, the door is locked. Like you're not getting out of there, my friend. It is locked. So he starts trying to take the doorknob apart. And he's found at the door by one of the museum's plumbers, who mistakes him as a trapped coworker and is like, helps him open the door. Like, come on, buddy, I got you. It's all right. And with that, the man slips out of the Louvre and onto the streets of Paris. His name was Vincenzo Perugia, and the painting he had just stolen was Da Vinci's masterpiece, the Mona Lisa. Katie, did you know that the Mona Lisa got stolen at one point in history?
I think I did, only because the conspiracy theorists say it's still gone or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 26 hours later before anyone knows that she's missing.
That should not have been that easy. I'm just going to put that out there. Like, I was sitting there, I was like, wow, that was really... What year is it?
1911.
Oh, that's why it's so easy.
But still, I mean, us in our modern age have been like, oh, okay, I suppose it makes a little more sense. But at the time, they were even like, holy shit, this should not have happened. Like,
it shouldn't have. Really? Tell you what, if Yi Sun-shin was in charge of that shit would not be flying.
You would be taking Ray's pants off and hitting them with them.
You're goddamn right.
Flogging by your own pants. The Louvre at the time, I don't know why I tried to add like that French R in there. That was bad. The Louvre at the time encouraged artists to come in and sit in the galleries and paint copies of the art, just as long as the art wasn't the same size. Like, you can come in, set up your easel. Like, please let us encourage your art. You can come make copies of any of the art on our walls. It's a good way to practice. Just not the same size. I think that's great. That's lovely.
Yeah.
One such artist who frequented the halls of the Louvre was Louis Beroux. And he was disappointed as he's setting up his easel. There's a blank wall where the Mona Lisa should have been. And he likes to have the Mona Lisa, whether he's painting her or not, he needs to have her in the room. She's kind of like a muse. He's like, where is she? The Mona Lisa's not here. And he asks the security guard, because he goes there a lot, he's like, Popardin, where is the Mona Lisa? And the security guard's like, I don't know, I guess she's being photographed. If she's not there, she's being photographed, I guess. And this is an acceptable answer because the Louvre currently had a project underway in which all the works were being meticulously photographed in the case of damage or loss or the restoration process. The photograph or the camera, like in photography, is pretty new at this point, and the curators of the museum are like, how great, we can take pictures of the work, so just in case we need to like go back and make sure we're storing it correctly, or if anything's lost, we have something to compare it to authenticate, to restore by. It's a great idea. There's just not a great system around it. They're so enthusiastic about this photography project that the photographers were allowed to just go and grab any piece of art, take it to the roof of the building because of the lighting, and photograph it. It didn't need to be signed out. It didn't need to have any sort of special permission for the photography. Like, you didn't have to ask somebody. They could just go. Nothing's bolted down. They could literally take it off the walls and go photograph it.
As someone who has worked in the financial industry, the amount of stress I just felt from that was woohoo.
Yeah, I felt a lot of stress when I was reading this book. So, I read the book, The Vanished Smile by R.A. Scotti. And then I also have a Smithsonian and History.com article about it. But yeah, I was a little stressed when I was reading this book. Sometimes I was like, wait, what? What? That's this and this? And it gets better. You're going to love this. When the painting doesn't return, Beru finds Popardin again and says, how long does it take for her to get her picture taken? It's been a long time. So Popardin, he goes to look into it. He goes to the photographers and he's like, do you guys have the Mona Lisa? How long is it going to be? What's going on here? And they're like, we don't have the Mona Lisa. And there's this like, I like to think of it like that fast zoom on Popardin's face. And he's like, and then all of a sudden it cuts to him like running the halls. And he's running to the
Without a
higher
doubt.
up.
I love how we have described both stories tonight in cinematic, big climactic moments in very cinematic ways.
Mm-hmm. He is running. Merde. That means shit in French. Oh no, shit. Merde. Mona Lisa is gone. Mona Lisa c'est parti. Read the headlines the next day, and the people of Paris were shook. The people of France were shooketh. The people of the world were shook.
I think the whole world was, not just France, but I understand France has a lot of pride in there. I mean, I've said it here before. Paris is probably my favorite city I've ever been to, so I see why. Because I don't know, there's just a light about it. I know, it's a city of lights. Shut up. It actually had like an energy of light about it.
I was about to be that asshole to be like, well, yeah, City of Lights. That makes sense. That's good.
Immediately shut down. Like, don't even think it.
Everybody's shooken up about this. Who could do such a thing? Everyone's just in shock. Who's the maniac art collector who would go and steal such a treasure and run away with it? The borders are shut. All cars and trains were searched at checkpoints. And the police brought in their very own equivalent to Sherlock Holmes, Alphonse Bertillon.
I was going to say Clouseau.
Clouseau. Yeah, it's basically Clouseau. He is Clouseau. He is he's Perrault of Agatha Christie novels or whatever. He is going to solve the case, Alphonse Bertillon. Now, in his career, he had not only introduced his own system of forensic identification, which was called the Bertillon system, in which suspects were photographed and measured. Basically, it was a sort of mugshot. So like you get like mugshots, but then also measuring hand and foot size and their height and weight and being able to have like this system of identification that we bring in. So that was his contribution to criminology. And then the art of fingerprinting has been somewhat recently, in a more formalized way, I should say, has been recently introduced to the world. And he becomes a master at fingerprinting. So Bertillon, he goes to work. He lifts a perfect print from the discarded frame of the Mona Lisa. He has some of the people who work at the museum try to recreate the crime, including the removing of the glass case and the frame. The first group to do it were security guards, and it took ages for them to do it, like to get it down and to like maneuver the case and get everything taken apart. The second group were museum workers in their white smocks, and they did it in moments. And he's like, aha, perhaps it was a museum worker or someone familiar with how these frames work in order to do it so quickly. In interviews with Louvre employees, Bertillon was able to piece together a time frame in which the painting was lifted, and also spoke with the plumber who found Perugia in the hallway, whose memory of Vincenzo's face was like a little fuzzy, but he was sure on what the man was wearing. He's like, it was the white smock of our employees.
Or he
Outside in the
wouldn't have helped them,
Mhm.
you
Right.
know?
Like this guy's got this all hidden up in his smock and then is like trying to get out. So he didn't see what was under this guy's shirt. They're big enough. They're like
Yeah,
I feel
well,
like I look a little bit like a elementary school teacher tonight with my big button-down shirt, but they are like bigger, baggier sort of
and the Mona
shirt.
Lisa is not very big.
It's not.
That's what
No.
I don't think people realize is it's actually a decently small painting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know the dimensions of it though.
I think it's 21 by 31. I have it written down here. I'll say in a minute, but
Not big.
yeah.
It's a little bigger than I
2.5.
thought.
Mm.
To shove that under and like walk away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And now this guy himself, he's maybe I don't even know if he's my size. He is 5'3". So he's a small guy.
Wow.
Small guy. He's scrappy, but he's small. Short, I should say.
Rub it in.
Outside in the garden, police find the broken doorknob that Vincenzo was working on when the plumber came across him. And all the testimonies given by museum employees were corroborated by other employees, but Detective Bertillon was just as stumped by the question of how did the Mona Lisa get out of the side door unseen as he was by who took her. Because you see, the Mona Lisa is not a piece of canvas that can be carefully rolled up and stowed away. It is a wood canvas measuring 21 by 31 inches. So there's no rolling it up. There's no, like, you can't fold it into anything. You have to, like, just get it up your shirt, wrap it up. And he wrapped it up, gets it up his shirt or something. Like, how do you get it out of there? How did it get out unseen by anyone? Now, frankly, security at the Louvre at this time was rather lax. And that's a bit of an understatement. And that's not great when you are the world's largest museum housing some of art's greatest treasures. Nothing's bolted down. There's no alarm system, of course, 1911. There were less than 150 guards covering 500,000 pieces. And there are 100 master keys that unlocked all the doors in the museum. So,
Oh
fuck,
my.
dude. Mm-hmm.
Again, as someone who worked in finances, I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God, it's so stressful.
At most, you have like 3 master keys. At most.
The security was so casual that a few months prior to the theft of the Mona Lisa, a journalist had spent the night in an esophagus. Nope. Spent the night in a sarcophagus.
No, what?
She crawled down somebody's throat.
Dude,
no.
what was it? A plesiosaurus? That would have been massive.
Spent the night in a sarcophagus to demonstrate how easy it was to illicitly be in the museum and just touching shit, right? Spent the night in a throat in a sarcophagus. So there were moments when Bertillon thought that maybe the missing Mona Lisa was yet another stunt just to show how easy it was to lift the world's greatest art. Like someone's playing a big old prank. Once they realized how easy it was to get in and spend the night in a sarcophagus, that they were like, oh, well, let's and the security didn't ramp up after that. Oh, let's see how this goes when we steal like the jewel of the Louvre, right? But he wasn't the only one speculating. The loss of La Joconde, aka Mona Lisa, led to an immediate and long-lasting media circus, and theories went wild as to what was her fate. I can't overstate how much of a media circus it was. Also, keep in mind, if you've listened to any of our other episodes of like what's going on in the world in the early 20th century, we've got, the birth of planes and telegraphs and phones and radio and diesel engines and like all these things. Like we have the second industrial revolution that's going on at this time. Like the world is getting a little bit smaller. So many different outlets of journalism, and that journalism was shady at best. Like everyone's just going to like throw their opinion in. There's so many different news outlets.
Nothing was moderated.
Right? So everyone's got an opinion, and they ranged all over the damn place. It is wild. And since tensions with Germany were rising, which we talked about with Rudolf Diesel, the episode you liked so much. Thank you so much, Katie. Since tensions with Germany have been high, some French newspapers were like, well, is Kaiser Wilhelm II or his cronies behind this to stir things up? Which was the theory behind Rudolf Diesel's death, or one of them. And the flip side of that same coin was, well, did France fake the theft in order to try and blame Germany? So like there's a political side to it. And then some papers thought that the Mona Lisa was stolen for love. Like this is like great romantic thing. And that all these men who have come to court the painting and, leaving roses and love letters at the floor of the masterpiece were occasionally questioned by the police. Oh, girl, you and me both. I've read so many accounts of people losing their mind over this painting. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay, I'm going to keep my thought to myself right now. I'll bring it up later.
Yep. Feel that. Feel that. I probably agree with it. I will confirm that in a little bit. But yes, a lot of people also floated the idea that somebody stole it and sold it to a nouveau riche American tycoon. It's one of these Gilded Age guys who like inherited all this money and they loved art.
They did it with fossils.
Which wouldn't have been an outrageous thought. You're right, Katie. Rich Americans may have been sharks at home with their wealth made in very typically questionable and exploitative ways. But when they disembarked in Europe, they were like a neon sign, Americans were, and they were just like conned and sold shit. And so all these rich guys that had all this money could very easily be talked into good fakes, because they didn't really understand art, but they figured if I had art on the walls, it makes me look the part, right? Some people were legit art people, but art. They were
very few of them. Very few of them were educated in this matter.
Yeah, not everyone was educated, exactly. Or they might purchase something of very high value through less scrupulous channels because they have the money. So they weren't just getting hoodwinked. They were the ones being like, hey, how can I get this priceless painting in a maybe not so scrupulous ways? That's not unheard of at this time. So that theory, okay, might have had some legs. But throughout all of the speculation of who stole it and why was the glaring problem of how bad the security was at the Louvre. The Mona Lisa wasn't the only thing that had been stolen in recent years. A heavy statue of the Egyptian god Isis was stolen about a year prior. And then a few years before that, a woman was sentenced to 6 months in prison for slashing a painting. So like people were able to get up close to the art. They could take it off the walls. They could touch it. They could mark it up in some way. And then you have this stunt of the journalist hiding out in a GD sarcophagus. That's goddamn sarcophagus overnight, a few months before the theft of the Mona Lisa. And these were public enough. And then it's released that this whole photography project is not secure. So on top of it's kind of an open secret, if you will. Like people know that the security is not great, but then you find out that this whole photography project they've been undertaking isn't secure. And if a piece is going to be photographed, the photographers just take it off its stand or take it off the wall. There's no sign out process, no time limit on how long it's kept in their position, no security escort throughout the process. There's not a security guard that goes down there with them and then comes back with it. And everyone's shocked. They're like, wait, what do you mean you can just take stuff off the walls and walk off with it? Are you serious? This is what you can do that? You can't do that now, folks. Don't even try. Please, please, please. But through all of this, the museum didn't do enough to counter the problem. The guards were taught nope, not jujitsu. That would have been far cooler. The guards were taught
They were taught to throw bodies.
Judo. So they were taught martial arts of some sort, but they were
judo you can still throw bodies.
Yeah. But not like jujitsu. I was thinking in tapping somebody out on the ground or something like that. But judo,
that's less cool.
Throw them.
Yeah, no, straight up Just throw those bodies, dude. This is a
Yeah.
whole new meaning to let those bodies hit the floor. Try to steal the Mona Lisa, bitch.
And then they have whistles, toot, 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 and batons. It was when the Mona Lisa was threatened via letter in 1910 that the museum finally brought in a company to put this protective glass over some of the works. And not all of the works, but a dozen or so of like their most important ones, which was equally controversial because then you have the art purists that are like, how dare you put glass over this art? Like, how dare you cover it up in a way? So Lisai, French sigh, like there's no win in here, but like they weren't doing enough. And when they did stuff, it was like, really, that's what you're going to do? That's how you're going to counteract this problem? It turns out one of the men that was assigned to work for this project, for this glass case project for the Louvre, was none other than our Vincenzo Perugia. Born in a village north of Milan, Italy, Perugia came to Paris a few years prior at the age of 25 or 26, and he soon got in some trouble with the police for attempting to rob a sex worker and for carrying a gun during a fist fight. I put in parentheses, LOL, what? So he's already got a little bit of a rap sheet. And
if you're gonna get in a fist fight, you just can't have a gun on you.
Just don't have a gun on you. Fisticuffs are fine. Just don't have that gun on you.
I don't know that I understand that logic, but okay.
So I was like, LOL, what? I'm going to leave Vincenzo here in possession of a priceless Da Vinci while the entire nation, nay, the entire Western world is looking for it and demanding its return. So we're going to let him sweat just a little bit. Just boop, put a little pin, Vincenzo here. Many hoped that the painting would have been found or there was a quiet ransom that was paid and she would return to her proverbial throne on the wall of the Salon Carré, but she was not. Oh no. The media circus kept on circusing. And even future art legends Pablo Picasso and Guillaume Apollinaire were questioned because Apollinaire and his avant-garde poet grabby fingers had previously stolen a couple of statuettes from the museum and then sold them to his buddy Picasso, who used them as models for his art. So yeah,
I'm sorry, but they should know better.
Right?
Artists, like honor system at this point, you should fucking know better.
Let it be known on the record, Laurel does not like Pablo Picasso at all. Not even a little bit. I'm not even that fond of his art. Don't steal stuff from the museums as you as an artist are trying, right? You know, anyway.
Yeah, that's that more than anything right there. I was like, you know better. And much like one of my favorite dishes, it's nachos. So guess what? Fuck right off.
It's nacho art is what we're saying. It's nacho art. Now this, just for the sake of timeline, just so you guys understand, the theft happened in August. Picasso and Apollinaire were questioned in September. So this is a few weeks later, but still, just so you guys know, like everybody is getting questioned by the police.
I just want to put this on the record before we forget and move on. We should do our favorite assholes episode and do people from history who we hate.
Yeah, I've thought about, okay,
I know diddly shit about Picasso, so.
Well, he was just a really abusive man. He was really horrible to the women in his life and was a serial abuser and also like was constantly like cheating on the next person and like abusing it. Yeah, he was not a nice person from my understanding. I didn't know him personally, but that's, you know, all the accounts that I've read of him as a person
fuck that guy.
Are not nice. So fuck that guy, right? And I was like,
who had the weird mustache?
Really
was that Picasso or was that Dali?
Dali, yeah.
Dali.
Yeah.
Dali's the one I liked anyway.
He's interesting, yeah. I don't know what he's like as a person, but his art is fun.
Yeah.
Melting clocks and shit. Like that mustache. That's fun. But yeah, no, Picasso sucks. I think I might put this up as a poll, maybe the poll question for this. Something I thought about doing. I was taking a shower and I was a little bit high. And which is a great place to be if your high is in the shower. Because like the ideas.
It's like going to Disney World. It's fucking rad.
It's so good. And I was thinking like, oh, we should have some fun. Maybe it might be a Patreon thing or like a bonus episode thing that we do between the seasons maybe. But have like your dream rotation. The stoners on the internet is like, you know, the nightmare rotation and dream rotation, like people that you'd want to have in the smoke circle with you. So it's like the history dinner party. Like who would you have from history at your dinner party kind of thing?
Sure.
So it's like your smoke circle. Like who would you be like wanting to pass
puff and pass, sure,
puff and pass to, right? And then who would be like some of the most annoying people? They don't have to be terrible people. Like you can't be like, I'm like, you can certainly be like, Hitler's in my nightmare rotation. And
I've heard
we understand why. But it could be somebody that is cool in history, but they would be a nightmare because they would maybe they would hold a joint and then start a big story. And you're like, the story's cool, but you got to puff, puff, pass,
Genghis
man.
Khan.
You gotta puff
He'd be
past
sitting
it.
there
And
talking about world domination. You just be like, bro.
yeah. Like they might not be like a terrible person from history, depending on how you want to do it. So
yeah,
maybe, do we do that, folks? Do we do something like that? Have a guest on to like talk about their nightmare and their dream rotations, maybe, and we talk about it.
be fun, or just
Be
something
fun.
that we do.
Little bonus episode that we do sometimes, like between the seasons.
I think that would be fun.
Okay, we'll float it.
I'm
see
not
what you
the
guys
audience,
think.
so
We'll run it up the flagpole, see who salutes it, that kind of thing.
There you go.
All right. But the French police, yeah. So we're back to our media circus. The French police are looking into everything, and everything's turning up short and doesn't have enough evidence. So our Alphonse Bertillon, our French Sherlock Holmes, with his perfectly lifted fingerprint from the discarded frame of the Mona Lisa, compared it to all the workers of the museum without success. Along with the fingerprint, the police also had a time frame in which the painting was stolen on Monday morning. The person or persons who did it, that they stowed away in a storage closet overnight from Sunday to Monday, and that they were wearing the white smock uniform of the museum employees. And that's about it. The world would keep searching, but after a week with not much more to go on, the museum needed to reopen. On the days the doors of the Louvre opened to the public again, thousands had come to see the empty place on the wall where the Mona Lisa should have been. It was 2 years. Y'all, it was 2 years before the Mona Lisa gets seen again. So, we've left him hanging here. Boop, let's pull that little pin out. Our Italian friend Vincenzo Perugia, who's had the Mona Lisa in his possession this whole damn time. He's been questioned twice, you guys. And he was never considered as a serious suspect. He kept the painting in his little flat in Paris in a false bottom of a trunk. After 15 months, in November 1912, there's this whole like changing of the guard, really. So like people in charge of the fine arts and the curators of the museum, they all get fired. New people are hired on. People in the police investigation, they're starting to drop out of the case with age and like other things going on, retiring, all that sort of stuff. Everything just kind of hits a dead end. And it's reported, quote, there is no ground to hope that Mona Lisa will ever resume her plan in the Louvre, and the investigation closes. Over the course of those 2 years that the Mona Lisa was gone, fakes popped up all over the world. And sometimes the copies would be shit, and they're like, it's another fake Mona Lisa, like throw it on the heap kind of thing. But other times, the copy was good enough to prompt a "she's been found" headline in various world newspapers. So, to Florentine art dealer Alfredo Jerry, it felt inevitable that he would perhaps get an offer from somebody selling a copy, or maybe the real thing. He's like, I'm an Italian art dealer. I'm in Florence. It would be particularly fitting, being that, this is the birthplace of Da Vinci and the Mona Lisa. Yes, Da Vinci was born outside of Florence, but still, stick with me. But it's a little bit too hot to sell the Mona Lisa because she has been on the world's radar for about 2 years. But after the search finally gets called off, and the thought that anyone who did find it would be a hero now at this point, like, if you found it, you're now a hero, and you might be a celebrity, and you might get a big ass reward for finding it. That's the thought process, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it, but it's very self-serving. So he stole it to sell it. He didn't...
Probably.
He didn't steal it because he's, like, obsessed with the Mona Lisa. Which somehow, I don't know how that makes it better, but I feel like somehow that's more socially acceptable than stealing it just to sell it. Because at least you can just tell me your love for the painting was just such that you just couldn't,
I think that's how some French papers wanted to hold on to that for a while. They kind of held on to that theory of like, but wouldn't that be romantic? At least it was because he loved the painting so much that somebody stole it.
I would feel more... I think what I mean by that is he would take good care of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If it's a passion project, hate to call it that, but if you're stealing the Mona Lisa as a passion project, you might as well at least think it's the raddest thing on earth.
Next steals the Declaration of Independence. It's Benjamin Gates. Oh, Nick Cage, what are you doing here? Yeah, I mean, I think that, yeah, they would at least know that she was loved, you know, at least she'd be in the ownership of the man who loves her. I mean, I don't know. It's so
I'm not that
so
romantic
weird.
about it.
I
I just
know.
am saying at least he wouldn't like spill some fucking coffee on it. Is more of where I was going with this.
Uses it as a giant coaster.
Yeah, like
right.
I
No,
just figure
thankfully.
somebody who appreciates it to that level is not going to allow harm to befall said painting.
You'd hope. And I think that's what people with that theory that they held on to, that was their hope as well.
Because no one wants to see it damaged.
No.
I mean, could you imagine, like, what if we found out, like, tomorrow that the Mona Lisa, like, got burned to a crisp, or that, like, Starry Night got, like, broken or something? Like,
yeah.
Ah.
So one day, Alfonso Geri, this Florentine art dealer, he does indeed receive a letter from a person simply named Leonardo, asking if Geri would be interested in purchasing the Mona Lisa. So Geri brings in Giovanni Poggi, the director of the Uffizi Gallery, to help him authenticate it. You know, wink, just in case. Hey, this person wants me to buy the Mona Lisa. It's probably a fake, but just in case, can you have an eye on it? Because this is Florence, by the way. Leonardo, a.k.a. Vincenzo, he takes the two men to his hotel a short walk away, and he pulls out the Mona fucking Lisa from his case. Now, Geri and Poggi are internally screaming because there's a stamp on the back of it that authenticates it, but they're also looking at other parts of it too. But the stamp on the back is like, oh, this is the real deal. But they're trying to play it cool. They're like, oh, well, we would like to be able to authenticate this against other Da Vinci works. So we want to take it with us just to make sure it's real, to compare the different works together. But this looks very good. We just want to take a longer look at it. And Leonardo, Vincenzo, is like, no problem. Do what you need to do. He's very, yes, please go do what you need to do. Now, this is where the stories vary a little bit based on different testimony. Geri says that Vincenzo was already talking about a buying price of 50,000 lira, which is $2.4 million at that time, before they even left Geri's shop to go to Vincenzo's hotel. So before they've even seen the Mona Lisa, Geri says that Vincenzo was already like, hey, how about you buy it for 500,000 lira? And Geri's like, well, if you have the Mona Lisa, then yeah, we can talk. Like, sure. Like, ransom this back, basically. Because Geri doesn't want to keep it for himself, obviously. Geri's like if
so
we find the Mona Lisa, we better get it.
He's trying to put it back where it came from.
Right, yeah.
Good man.
But if he looks like a good guy in the process, that's not so bad, right?
He's
not the guy that has found the Mona Lisa. Right. He's ransomed it back, right?
You're the hero of the hour.
Mm-hmm. Vincenzo, on the other hand, his story, he says that Geri proposed the payment on the way to his hotel, that Geri brings it up. And Vincenzo says, well, I was hoping that the Italian government would compensate me. Quote, I did not take the picture through a desire for gain, but wish to accomplish a good and holy work by returning to my country one of the many treasures stolen from it. End quote. Now, we're going to come back to that little statement in a moment, but first we're going to finish recovering the Mona Lisa. So Geri and Poggi, they take the painting from Vincenzo, say they're going to authenticate it. They leave. They leave the hotel. And
I can't believe he let them leave with it.
Yeah, he was very enthusiastic to let this happen. He's like, absolutely, that's fine. And before Vincenzo even really has a moment to himself, the police are at his hotel room door and he is getting arrested. But he's very cooperative. He's like, oh, I'm sure it's just a formality. I know that I was in possession. Here you go, officer. I was in possession of the Mona Lisa. Sure, like this is just a formality. I am returning the work to our people. So he's very, very cooperative. Italy is rejoicing. They're like, hell yeah. The Mona Lisa. We have found her. She has come home. Here she is. She is in Florence. Hooray. The world rejoices. Yay! France is over here going, what? Are you serious? They're a little bit incredulous.
France is like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah. We've been looking for 2 damn years. What is going on? We couldn't find anything, and yet you guys just get it. Surprise. So France is a little bit incredulous after all their searching. They're like, but glad she's been found. Now, Vincenzo, he repeats his story to the police about how he's just trying to return the Mona Lisa to her home, that she had been stolen away from Italy by that Corsican emperor of France, aka that's Napoleon, and that she's.
I was going to ask you, how did they obtain it? Because I didn't even know how she got there. So Napoleon rode in on his fucking Marengo horse and took it, didn't he?
Well,
sorry, it's not the horse's fault.
It's not the horse's fault, no, but it's also not Napoleon's fault. So we're going to talk about it. I know. I know. Art stolen. Napoleon was one of the greatest art thieves. We're talking about heists. He is one of the biggest theft en masse of art. However, this one is not his fault. Okay, so she's now been returned to her people, it says Perugia, and it's so romantic. Oh, it's so romantic. The press eats it up. They're like, this is beautiful. Vincenzo Perugia, our hero thief. And with that sort of moniker and seeing how much the people applauded him, Perugia, like, he revels in it, and he gives a bunch of interviews on his motives. So, ready for some romance?
I'm just not much of a romantic.
Okay, well, we'll see if this gets you at all, Katie.
It was like pretend for like 5 seconds.
Pretend for a second. Quote, I was ashamed that for more than a century, no Italian had thought of avenging the spoliation committed by Frenchmen under Napoleon when they carried off from Italian museums and galleries pictures, statues, and treasures of all kinds by wagon loads, ancient manuscripts by thousands, and gold by sackfuls. Many times while working in the Louvre, I stopped before Da Vinci's picture and was humiliated to see it there on foreign soil. I thought it would be a great thing for Italy were I to present the wonderful masterpiece to her, so I planned the theft. In another interview, he continues saying, my work as a house painter brought me in contact with many artists, and I always felt deep in my soul that I was one of them. I spent many hours at the Louvre enjoying the masterpieces of Italy, which should never have left my country. I shall never forget the evening after I carried the picture home. I locked myself in my room in Paris and took the picture from a drawer. I stood bewitched before La Gioconda, which is what Italy calls her, La Gioconda. I fell victim to her smile and feasted my eyes on my treasure every evening, discovering each time new beauty and perversity in her. She's just like, that's my, I gotta do my Mona Lisa here. She's like,
I was going to say, I'm going to sound like a real dickhead right now. I've never been that overawed by the Mona Lisa.
Quote, I fell in love with her. So this is, Katie, I'm glad you say that. So this is like the subsection of my episode where I appeal to Katie's deep, enduring love for Lord of the Rings. And I ask, is Mona Lisa the One Ring? Because it makes the men go gaga. This painting, some boys get real silly.
I think the One Ring was silly sometimes across genders. I'm just going to put that out there. I think the One Ring would have affected women the same, but
sure. Like, I'm just saying, like, in terms of what it's doing to people, especially men, because that's where most of these accounts come from, both historical and anecdotal. All these men are falling in love with the painting.
In my humble opinion, I think for some reason, people find a lot of mystery in her, which I've just never quite understood, to be honest with you. But to each his own.
I was reading something that Leonardo da Vinci had said about when painting women, and essentially it was like you paint women very demure, like the head slightly tilted down, that they're not quite
very mindful,
very demure, very mindful. You don't have the woman, like the female subject of your painting, to be looking at the viewer. And then he paints the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
And the Mona Lisa is not that. She's kind of sexy, like in a not very seductive way. Like, there's something about the smile, the eyes, there's something kind of like,
she's very mischievous.
Hello. Mischievous, enigmatic.
Have you ever seen her?
Not in person, but I looked at her a whole lot. And whereas before, Katie, I was like, oh, I think it's a beautiful painting. I think it's amazing. I think it's his great work. Sure. I'll trust somebody on that. It's great. However, I wasn't like, oh, I need to stare at the Mona Lisa. But the more I looked at her, I was like, I get it to a degree. I understand why people have that, because as it was explained to me, people see kind of like they kind of see themselves in whatever, like it's like a mirror. It's a reflection of
Mhm.
kind of how they are
They start
seeing themselves and
exploring
what
their
they pull
small.
from it.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. And maybe, and that's what art does for a lot of people that are into art, but maybe the Mona Lisa is sort of like that quote unquote gateway drug, gateway painting for to be more accessible for more people to see that. I don't know, maybe.
It's an easier
But it's
subject to
interesting.
understand because it's a person, right? Let's just
Sure.
start there. We can all relate to a person because we're people. And I hate to say it like this, but like, I feel like a lot of men are super into her because they can't have her. I don't know. That sounds kind of silly, but she just kind
No,
of
that's
has
right.
that I am beyond you look. I am
Yeah.
untouchable and you cannot have me. And I think certain people really desire that.
But it's something that were a lot of stories that I was reading of people like that would just come and put a rose, leave a love letter for her, like come and visit her every day, and like, or if they
That
had her in the possession, they were like, I fell in love with this painting. I fell in love with the woman in this painting. And as for Napoleon, yes, he had pilfered all kinds of shit from everywhere, and it was a notorious art thief. The Mona Lisa didn't come to France by his hand, though. So, very brief history of the Louvre. Back in the late 12th century, the Louvre was built as a fortress, was later demolished and turned into a Renaissance-style palace for the royal family by King Francis I. Now, if you go to Louvre at the base level, I forgot what it's, Basal or Basale or whatever, it's the base first level. Boop, boop, there it is. You can see remnants of the fortress, is my understanding. You can see like some of the stone. But the rest of the fortress above that was demolished is now a beautiful palace. It's super huge. And Francis, or Francois the First, was a huge art lover of all things beautiful, really. He loved art. He loved beautiful women, I'm sure. I mean, and that was probably because he himself was like a really ugly dude. Like, sorry, but anyway. So Da Vinci, moving on.
did he just need a better haircut, Laurel?
No, he's nope.
Just
No.
a rough individual. He was not blessed.
It's fine. He just wasn't blessed with looks, and that's okay. He was blessed with royal blood, really. That's so good for you. You get to do whatever you want, I guess, right? So Da Vinci's painting the Mona Lisa intermittently for 4 years, and he's carrying the painting around with him. So just painting it on and off 4 years to the end of his life in France. So you see old King Francis I conquered Milan in 1515. And that's how the two met in Milan. And he's the French king, really impressed by Da Vinci's work. He's like, I love art. You do art. This is great. This is good art. Would you like to come visit me at my palace? Right? So impressed. And the king fell for the Mona Lisa upon seeing it, and he purchased the painting for himself. Now it
So
seems
Da Vinci willingly handed it over.
Right. Yeah. When it was finished, he sold it to the king, and that's what happened.
Wild
It
time
wasn't
to be
Napoleon.
alive.
Right. You could just pay for
You
that
could
time.
just purchase a painting from Da Vinci himself. Do you know he invented the scissors?
He was quite a cool dude.
What the hell?
He would probably be part of my dream rotation.
Easily. He and I would get up to no fucking good, though. Marauder's Map, the two of us. I'm going to tell you right now because I have a feeling that's who he was. I'm just putting it out there.
Good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That would be me and Da Vinci. We'd have to have somebody around the table who would keep us in line.
Okay. Da Vinci brings his art skills to France and hangs out for a little bit. Everyone's into it because he's great. And it seems a whole lineage of French kings fell to the Mona Lisa's charms. I mean, I'm sure there were some that were more or less into art, but she was pretty much on public display, or at least display within the household at the Louvre, and then later at Versailles with Louis XIV. And the Sun King, who we talked about in episode 90, that's Louis XIV. He's also all about art and beauty. So it's like bookended with these two kings that are like, art, beauty. Louis XIV was particularly into like an Italian style art and beauty too. Like he really loved it. So like the Mona Lisa, he's like, this is great. And he does all of it, of course, on a grand scale. And when he died, the Mona Lisa, it gets tucked away in like a darker hallway of Versailles. So it's not really like in the king's chambers. It wasn't his bedroom before. It wasn't in like a big public area where everyone could see it. Napoleon he's not on the scene. He's on the scene not too terribly long after, and he conquers all over Europe, and he has a particularly grand art ransacking of Italy and brought a lot of the country's treasured art back to Paris to be displayed in the Louvre. But the Mona Lisa, though being displayed in the museum, she was not a part of the French emperor's loot from Italy. She is already there. But yes.
Fairly purchased.
She was fairly purchased, but a lot of the stuff was not. A lot of the stuff is brought back via Napoleon. As for Vincenzo Peruggia, he was sentenced to 1 year and 15 days in prison. He served 7 months of his sentence before winning his release on an appeal. Not too long after, at the end of June in 1914, World War I breaks out. And he later fights in the Italian army during World War I before returning back to France, where he died in 1925. So he died young, because he was in like 1911, he was like late 20s. So
Wow,
yeah, he probably died in like his 30s, early 30s. Yeah.
Which is not that old.
No, it's not.
Putting it out there.
No, it's not. No, it's not at all.
Just panic from both of us. Like, it's
That's
really
not
not
old.
old.
That's not old. As for the Mona Lisa, the painting, after being found in Florence, makes this tour of Italy, because everyone's like, the Mona Lisa, let's look at her. So she makes a brief tour of Italy. She comes back to France, and where she's been since hung in the Louvre and has really never left, except for maybe a couple of visits. She did make a visit to the White House on the request of Jackie Kennedy. So, but I mean, that took some work, and I think she's only had a couple of exits from the Louvre since 1911. They're like, we're going to keep her here. The theft of the masterpiece really put it into the zeitgeist. Mona Lisa may have been the jewel of the Louvre and considered a great masterpiece by people within the art world. But upon the theft and the media circus that ensued, it became an instantly recognizable painting. More like the people's painting. Like, the people really took ownership of this painting when it vanished. And they were like, oh my God, the Mona Lisa. And everyone kind of became able to recognize the Mona Lisa because the picture was everywhere. And it now receives about 8 million visitors a year. Ooh. Now, if you look into this slice of history, just like a little footnote here, if you look into this story or are already familiar with it, you might have been like, wait a second, Laurel, what about his accomplices? You left out his accomplices. Now, some sources talk about them as if they are official accomplices. Some barely mention them at all. The brothers Lanciolotti, Vincenzo and Michele, were named as accomplices for the heist, as people who helped him get it off the wall. Like, they went in the closet with him on Sunday night. They helped him get it down off the wall and spirited away. Now, the plumber only accounts for one person. And
I was going to say, only one person was spotted, but...
So either they left beforehand and got out, like maybe they did like a little scatter after Vincenzo Peruggia had it and like got it all up. He's like, I'm going to go out this way. You guys go out this way. Maybe. There was just never any evidence to charge them with anything. So there are some stories that are like, oh yeah, Peruggia and his 2 accomplices. But officially there was no evidence against them. So
there's no cameras either at this time at 1911. Right. So it's not like you can say either way. So you're never going to know.
So yeah, so I want to mention that, but like there's no evidence for it, so I'm not going to talk about it. And Peruggia never was like, oh yeah, I had these guys helping me, this. He made it sound like he's one hero thief, right?
Right.
I did it. Look at me.
It's all me.
So that is the theft of the Mona Lisa in 1911, which made the Mona Lisa famous, more famous at least. Like, put it into the
when you said it like that, I was like, now I see why everyone's obsessed with her. If it was worth stealing, it must be good.
Yeah, maybe something like that. This is the great masterpiece of Da Vinci, and he has other works at the museum. It's just the Mona Lisa is the one that's like,
indeed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what an adventure we've been. We've been on the high seas. We've been to the museum. We've had a heist, high seas and heist.
Yes.
Heists and high seas.
Just
high sea. High sea, yeah.
The shitty drink.
Get some ecto cooler up in here. We get some ecto cooler.
Absolutely.
Some fruit punch. Oh wow, we've definitely adventured today. Thank you, Katie, for bringing that wonderful morsel of Asian history in Korean history
Absolutely.
for us. It's so fascinating learning about something
never hear
really
about
cool that
Korea.
you never really get to hear about where
Yeah.
we live. And so this is why history podcasts are so much fun. This is why we're glad that you're here with us. So you can maybe learn something that you haven't heard about yourself and get excited about it. Maybe you are a real big art lover and you only knew a little bit about the heist of the Mona Lisa. Maybe you know all about it and you were like, yes, girling the whole time with me. That's great, you know, or screaming and being like, Laurel, you got it all wrong. Well, my sources are in the show notes. And what else is in our show notes? Our handles for social media. Come join us over on social media on Instagram or on TikTok. So it's at High Tales of History on Instagram or High Tales of History Pod on TikTok. You can hang out with us there. Like, that's good. Please follow us. Please, make sure that you're liking and reviewing and subscribe to the show so that way you know when the next episode comes out. These are like all really helpful things, especially rating and reviewing. We love to connect with you. And otherwise we just feel like kind of talking out into the void. So when you guys come in to our DMs or like send us an email or a message or something or follow us and are like, oh my gosh, I'm loving this episode, it makes our days. It makes us so happy. So please say hi when you do. We love that.
Make it to the end of the YouTube, comment, my eyes are too close together.
My eyes are too, yeah, that's what
One
you have to do.
review.
That's your call to action. Your own personal 1-star review of yourself. Bubbly. Eyes are too close together. I don't know. For me, says too many filler words and looks like a beach boy. I don't know. That's it. I look like a 1964 beach boy right now with my stripy shirt. It's fine. It's okay. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna give it. And you know what? That's a 2-star. That's a 2-star review right there. Maybe not one.
I was gonna say that wasn't very 1-star review.
Yeah. Just too many filler words. Says a lot. Laughs nervously. 1-star review.
Get 1-star review gets too high sometimes.
Sometimes gets too high and has no idea what's going on. 1-star review, or panics and just talks way too fast. 1-star. That's it. You know what? It's fine. We're all perfectly imperfect here together in our smoke circle, and we're glad you're here. We look forward to doing it again in a couple more weeks for episode 94. It's going to be episode 7 of season 4. We've got 2 more episodes left before the end of the year, before the end of the season. In the meantime, get money, get high, give love, and
band together with your brethren, man. Never give in.
I think that's a lovely little message after the week we've just had. Yeah, band with your brethren, definitely. and
especially if your Admiral is Yi Sun-shen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Take care of yourselves, everybody, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.